Just started.
Awesome. Hello, guys. How are you? Welcome to Kleros Weekly Community Call. This is Wednesday, 28th of June, 2023. So big piece of news this week. As you know, we were planning to do a conference in Paris, like in the context of ETH-CC. In the end, we couldn't secure the place. I mean, there were like different complications logistically. So we will actually do a way larger conference, actually, that's going to take place in November 9th. It's going to be done in Lisbon. We already have the place booked. It's a beautiful venue in the park. I think I already mentioned this briefly, but in the park, so Alfonso Park or whatever its name. So November 9th, so there's going to be a quite big venue, and this is going to be done in the context also of a blockchain event happening in Lisbon. And also there is the Web Summit, which is, the most important web event around. So that's going to be a good moment to do our event, and we will do a bunch of things, different things about Kleros, talks about different products. There's going to be probably another track for academic and oriented people.
Federico, quick question. You said during Web Summit, is it just before or just after? Because the accommodation could be an issue.
I think it's before the Web Summit. We can confirm that, but I think it's before. I think there is a blockchain conference, and then there is this conference, and then after Web Summit, then after comes Web Summit. We can check this now. Yeah. Hopefully,
yes, I think it's banned
in advance.
The Web Summit.
What date is the Web Summit, JB?
It's between East Lisbon and the Web Summit.
Yeah, correct. There you go. So you can start booking your places if you want to go. It's going to be like a super cool event and quite big as well. So that's one thing. We are already starting to prepare the program for the event. This is not the first time we do an event for Kleros. I mean, we did the first one at Leicester. That was a purely academic one. That was in January 2020. That was exactly the day of the Brexit, actually. Then we did another one at the Sorbonne. It was also mostly academic, and then, this one is going to be like a bigger one, also like a business and also academic track. But this is the most important event we ever organized, so we're excited. The venue is already booked, so we are now starting to prepare all of the program and all of the stuff to make this a success. So another important news, I already mentioned this last week. So we are, as you know, working with a very important exchange called Lemon. It's not secret anymore. It's still kind of not announced, but it's something we are already doing for using Kleros to resolving disputes happening in what is what we call Web 2.5. Where different companies, and in this case it's an exchange, could be other. We have been in discussions and in piloting a Kleros solution with other companies from other industries, all of them from the non-native. Them is actually a quite important insurance company. Of course, that the NDA is still there, so we can say anything. But so this is exciting. It's exciting to see Kleros working in what people call mainstream real world, type of disputes. Because truth is that most of the economic activity is still happening in the Web 2 or Web 2.5 world. So this is where the larger volume of disputes exists at the moment. I mean, of course, we all hope and we expect that in the long run, Web3 apps will for sure be a bigger part of the economy. But now most of the activity is still going on in Web 2. So it's extremely important, this particular pilot, because it validates a way in which Kleros can work with these traditional companies. This is not the first time we have tried to do this. We have tried this at least once per year since Kleros started. There were always different types of friction points for this to work. Sometimes, and most times actually, was the cost of gas. You know, as Kleros was deployed on the Ethereum mainnet, the types of disputes that we could address were, I mean, typically small claims, and Kleros was not competitive in general against other solutions. Now, with the Gnosis chain and all of the L2s and all of this new ecosystem that was growing around, Kleros is actually very competitive compared to I mean, other alternatives. Like, for example, traditional arbitration for small claims to cost, you know, in hundreds of dollars for solving one case. I mean, the other alternative is going to small claims court. That's not great. So Kleros can solve these disputes in the vicinity of $50, and this is the first iteration. So this can be made more efficient. This is an extremely compelling value proposition for companies that need to solve disputes because of well, they want to do this in a neutral way because, of course, they typically have their internal dispute resolution service, as you know, eBay or, you know, all of the companies, they have the customer service, they use that. People, of course, they don't trust that because every customer thinks this is rigged or this is going to favor the company or whatever. So this is a very compelling solution for these companies, and also the way in which we are like selling this is more like a service of mediation than arbitration, because as you know, well, there is a bunch of problems when you want to like label Kleros as arbitration because of things you have already discussed about New York Convention, but it's okay because for small claims it doesn't matter if you call it mediation or arbitration, because for all practical purposes it still resolves the dispute in a way that is so this is something that is working now. We are still in the early days, and we are still in the piloting phase of this. But I mean, I wanted to share this with you in a bit more detail. I already mentioned this in the past, but I mean, I wanted to give you more details about how this is actually working to see how we are thinking about Kleros addressing, you know, real world scenarios of disputes that happen today, and how it actually provides a service to these customers, right? Because in the end, what we need to do is to try to address to have a larger amount of disputes, because that's what that's what we are all about, right? Solving disputes happening in different places. So this is moving forward very nicely. I mean, it's still, as I said, piloting phase, but you can already see. I mean, this is in Spanish, so hopefully you know Spanish, but you can already see this court existing in the Gnosis chain. It's in Spanish, in the Spanish no technical court. So you can already see that this is working. This is not an idea. This is not a project. This is already solving real disputes happening in real companies of real customers. So we are excited, and of course, cautiously excited, but optimistic that this is going to become a big thing. So that is a very good piece of news. So this week I wanted to show you, more than me, I mean, JB and more of the technical team wanted to show you a bit of the more progress done towards V2. We have not, I mean, did not get on time to do it because of the last test, but this I just wanted JB to tell you a bit about, give you a teaser of what we are about to show you in the next few days. I mean, at least at the latest, it's going to be like probably in the next community call. So you're going to see a much more developed version of Fichu. So yeah, JB, maybe you want to explain a bit about that?
Yes. So we are going to see the court front end in a much more final form compared to the previous demos that we've done. There was a number of values in there that were actually hard-coded. So there's a lot more live data. So like we can see the value of the stakes, the value in the PNK amounts, the ETH amounts now are translated into the current market value. That's one of the like small things. Under the hood, we've like pretty much changed the engine compared to the last demo. We migrated to a lot of very new libraries. For the most technical of you, we migrated to WAGMI and Vim, and it's not just about like some libraries, but we found that it makes the UX much better. It's more responsive. The transactions are prepared in advance. Actually, that's some of the optimizations that are done in the front end, so it's a lot more responsive. In the last demo, we had issues with uploading evidence, and we changed the service provider that we are using for this, which is it's a pinning service on top of IPFS. The last time it was way too slow for a good UX, and now we migrate to a new service. It's almost instant. So yeah, you will see more tomorrow. We've also, again, it's sort of under the hood, but we've also changed the interfaces of the arbitrator and the arbitrable applications in a way that makes it easier to integrate. I won't dive too much into it tomorrow because it's probably a different audience, but we should probably.
JB, do you want to do this tomorrow or maybe next week, where more people, I mean, are, because people have already scheduled? I don't know, when you want. For me, it's okay.
Yeah, I think it could be tomorrow or the day after. But I'm thinking we could have a specific session for people interested in integrating. I know Mars probably would be interested, using some more modern interfaces that don't require you to mess with a bunch of scripts hosted on IPFS with some kind of obscure specifications. So yeah, we're hoping that we are going to cut the time to integrate with Kleros in like an order of magnitude. And we realize also some of the naming conventions could have been misleading in the previous version. So yeah,
Yes, of course, and it's not just me. Previously, Federico said about having more cases, and when you make Kleros easy to integrate, it means there is more products, and you never know which product will achieve product market fit and traction and will generate these cases. So it's just like planting seeds. So I fully support making integration easy. I know for the fact that the current EIPs for evidence standard are complicated, and I actually had an idea. This is literally a one-liner idea. a new evidence standard that is literally an array of strings. And if you want to add a new evidence, you just add the IPFS hash. And in that way, wow, there's just the case. If you want to add evidence, you just call function add evidence with a one parameter, which is the IPFS hash. And I think it's just brilliantly simple.
I mean, just one thing from me about this. I mean, how we think about integration. So, of course, our goal is to make this as simple as possible. It will never be like a completely, I mean, like a plug and play. I think like a process because of parameters. Different use cases will require different, parameters. There are different amount of jurors you might want to use, different, cost per juror, different type of expertise. So there is a bit, and the policies, I mean, which would require a specific, discussion. But I mean, it's very hard. I mean, and this is what we see in our experience. It's like it would be hard for someone, except from someone who already, for a company that was built by an ex-Kleros, team member, to just come and plug their smart contract into Kleros without, telling us. At least for the short term. In the long term, things can be different, but that's a friction point that it's going to be hard to remove in the short term. Yeah. Besides of all of the technical work we might do in order to ease the integration for partners, it's still going to be like a quite intensive. We need to have a whole just because of parameters, right? So yeah, just my 2 cents about how we think about this. Okay. If you William, maybe you have something to add about the parameters and how calculations and how easy it is for someone to just calculate themselves the parameters, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I more or less agree with what you said. We've tried to make it as easy as possible for people to calculate parameters themselves. We have this calculator. It's like a Google Colab sheet. It's not like that hard to use. I mean, it's not like an attractive interface, but it's, if you read the instructions in the calculator, I think it's clear enough. And some people, like in like Telegram groups where people ask, me for parameter advice, like people often have sometimes have come with, oh, I put these into the calculator and I don't know how to estimate this. And I don't know how to estimate this, but they sort of come with already having tried and more or less understand how that parameter calculation works. Ideally that would get easier in the long term. Some things are just hard to estimate, and but I in the estimating how much effort some task takes is something that you need to understand the task really well to do. That's a hard, that's something that's difficult for us as it would be for someone building some future application. But we try to make the parameters as easy for people to calculate as possible. I encourage everyone to mess around with the calculator and calculate parameters for themselves.
I mean, and if you want to suggest, updates to the calculator and improvements, feel free. If you can read all of those equations, that's helpful. Now, what we imagine happening in the long term is, Kleros existing as a protocol, and then there's an ecosystem of advisory companies that will help partners with the integration. That's how it would look like in the long run. Even with different companies developing different types of front ends for different use cases. Some company could be, running front ends for the future solution in, gaming. Another one would be in the e-commerce. Another one could be doing this in insurance. And they would be, all of them, using Kleros as, let's say, a provider of the juror network to resolve the claims. But so we are a bit far because we still need to develop Kleros in a way that is flexible enough for for this to happen, and also to actually ourselves prove that Kleros can work in a bunch of use cases that are relevant. And this is why it's very important to have this pilot like what we are doing with Lemon. So, but that's what I imagine happening in the long run. This is a bit what happens in I guess a bit like the Linux ecosystem. You have a core product and core, let's call it protocol, and then different implementations done by different companies. And also you can see how, for example, other example comes to mind is how IBM was selling, Watson AI tool they had. You can use through an API, and then you have companies helping, partner consulting companies helping customers implement the technology. So that's how enterprise software basically works in many cases. So that's how we imagine would happen in the future. But I think I interrupted. You, JB, you wanted to say something else about what we're going to show. Tomorrow or Friday, then we can do it. Anything else you want to add?
No, not right now.
Cool. Okay, so we will let you know when we are going to do this. Okay, so let's go. William, any other thing, any other update from your end?
Not really. We've been designing some game theory experiments to test some of the mechanism design that got laid out in the yellow paper with the different sort of voting systems for multiple choice Kleros disputes of experiments last week. This is Jan, our PhD student, is working a lot on this. So I'm looking forward to really analyzing the data and sort of validating what the research that we've done. But other than that, I've mostly been buried in paper edits for various academic articles that we've been writing.
Yeah. Well, we are the review process of an article on Frontiers and Blockchain. I should not speak more because it's in the review process. I'm not going to say anything else about that. We made an application. As you know, we have been for a while researching interactions between Kleros and AI. As you might know, there is a grant that is given by Open, how we can use different tools to reduce biases and other problematic things that happen in the world of in their case in ChatGPT, but this could be general for other tools. We did an application of how we think Kleros could help better define what when you saw maybe that OpenAI, ChatGPT, sometimes it doesn't like to answer because it considers that the question or the prompt is inappropriate. So how do they decide what is or not appropriate? They have internal rules made by their team. So we think this could be more transparent. We think that a tool like Kleros could be helpful in determining what type of questions or what prompts ChatGPT should answer, what not. So already submitted. So now waiting to see what happens and see. Let's see. Hopefully we get it. This is a super fascinating research topic, and so we're waiting for the reply. This is also part of our ongoing experiment. As William mentioned, the research program. As you know, we have lots of different research questions regarding how Kleros can be made more resistant to attacks. And the next experiment we are going to do with Jan, who is our PhD researcher, who is studying cryptoeconomics, uses a bunch of cases where jurors have to decide between different colors, and then we throw different situations that are different, how jurors react to that. So that's a something we are currently researching. And then we have a bunch of other research questions related to what some people call, well, what research will call behavioral game theory. It's about how people make decisions in. But I mean, game theory assumes that agents are super rational. I mean, we have discussed this year. They have some assumptions on rationality that are sometimes reasonable, sometimes exaggerated, maybe. And there's lots of debate in economics of how people behave and how much moral values can affect or behavior. So a lot of the questions that we have about Kleros are related to this type of questions, because this is like this affects how people see Kleros for regulatory disputes. If people don't see Kleros as legitimate, then they might not want to adopt it, and that would be bad for adoption, right? So we are trying to understand better what are the contexts in which Kleros can work better, can be seen as a legitimate tool, and in which context where Kleros has more problems to be seen as legitimate. Like, for example, for traditional arbitration in international settings, oil and gas, people tend not to see Kleros as a viable tool because of a bunch of stuff of how the mechanism works, because of jurors being anonymous, having economic incentives for voting, which is not how arbitration works. So in those cases, we tend to use Kleros not as arbitration, but as a support for decision making tool, not in arbitration, but that they are like part of an arbitration process. This is how basically the Mexico case worked, and this is what we are actually now exploring as well in what we are researching. It's called the mediation bridge. It's this tool we developed with Rob Dean, who is a construction arbitrator, but he's not an arbitrator himself. He works at construction dispute resolution. And the question that we were trying to answer is, how can we have Kleros resolve claims in more complex settings than the consumer kind of small claims, which are great because they are high volume, but how can we have Kleros be a bit more ambitious? And the answer we had is we can use Kleros as a tool for mediation in the context of having a big, construction dispute over to a mediation process where you break down this dispute in a bunch of smaller disputes, where you use Kleros in a kind of a more binary setting. For those who actually are in Paris for the ETHCC, we are going to hold a session. It's a workshop. It's not open, but if you are in this call, it's because you are enough involved in Kleros, so you can come if you want. To actually do a workshop to try to understand better how this process is going to work in a real dispute case. In order then, after we validated how this mediation bridge works, try to offer Kleros as a mediation tool. So this is going to happen, if I'm not wrong, 17th of July. If you are in Paris, this is on Monday, I think. We're going to do this probably also one of the universities that collaborate with us. So it's going to be like a workshop, like kind of design thinking where we're going to do like a mock dispute. We have deciding different. We have different disputes that we are considering, and to see which one is going to be better. And we're going to have a bunch of actual arbitrators and mediators come to that workshop to help us refine the product and the process to make it more possible to work, basically. So if you want to come, you can actually message me. It's not going to be like open, but if you message me, if you were there in Paris for the conference, you can come. So July 17th. Okay. let me go through Marcos. Maybe you have something about business development today.
Yes, first of all, as in June, we oh sorry. So we are in 150 partnerships. So that's a good news for Kleros. That's the first news. Then last Thursday we had a talk in an Argentinian event where we talked with a guy, with Federico, that is from one of the guys from the batch, and Pedro, that is an important lawyer from Argentina. We had a talk in a VP event, and it was really good. The audience was interested in Kleros. And then this week we have been, as you mentioned before, we have been working in Lemon integration. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you, Marcos. I'm going to mention the curate V2 that's worth mentioning here. Already, Jean, I don't know who wants to speak about this.
Yes, I don't know if Akil is here.
So,
no.
Federico, I didn't listen to you very well your question because I don't know if I think I'm having some issues with my internet. But Akil doesn't used to connect to the community call because of his time zone.
Yeah, because of the time zone. Yeah, I know. So no, it was just mentioning. I mean, we just published the blog post about immigration to curate V2 on the Gnosis chain. So just to consolidate all of the curation use cases there, so we don't need to have like different places where you can submit them in the curation for the address tags and all that. It's just a way for us to consolidate products and try to start cutting, maintenance costs, and of course no need to have a different things doing the same, purpose, right? So that's just worth mentioning. Yeah. So that.
Just would like to add that we will share more information about these revamped lists in the next couple of minutes, and we will have like an incentivation plan to have more entries. So anyone there is interested in earning some PNK, stay tuned, because you will be able to contribute to the lists and have some reward for.
Yeah, we will give more details about that. And I think one last thing. So we are looking for, front-end developers, but we are looking for different positions, and we're trying to now to revamp a bit the way in which we are doing recruiting, because we are growing fast and we need more hands on deck, and we need to have more applications and stuff. So the most urgent request is front-end development, because we have a lot of front-end tasks to do. So if any of you is a front-end developer and you want to work at Kleros, you can apply to Jean will for sure share the open positions, and you can check lots of different other open positions we have. Front-end is urgent, and then what we already started to interview now is policy positions. As I mentioned, policy writing is super important on how users interact with Kleros, and how bureaus make decisions, and bad policies. Can result in bad resolutions. So this is something with we have always, because of still early days and learning, done ourselves. But now we are at the moment where we have more use cases, and we want to have someone like being basically an expert in policy writing. So this involves, understanding rules, understanding law, understanding user behavior, user psychology. So there's a bunch of different stuff you need to know. So there is an open position if you can apply if you want. And yeah, but first content.
Excuse me, Federico. I'm actually thinking that this could be like a freelance job, or many jurors in the community have some experience. But I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about the marketing, because there is this sentiment comes from me, but it also comes from a few people in a Telegram chat, and the same sentiment was on the forum, a year ago or 2 years ago. So the sentiment about the marketing, because still Kleros is a fantastic technology, but it's not adopted, it's not widespread. So the question to you about the marketing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a thread in the forum about this. So the first thing is that how we think about the marketplace. Marketing. We do a lot of marketing. Depends what you consider marketing. If marketing jurors to buy tokens and become jurors, then that's what we at Kleros we see as supply side marketing, because jurors are those that supply the arbitration services that will resolve cases. So, and the other part, if you want to consider marketing, as channel marketing targeted at potential partners. I mean, we definitely do a lot of that. All of the work that Bagnian does and Marcos does, and me personally do when addressing, users, is business to business marketing. So I imagine that what you are asking more is about the supply side of marketing, why we are not targeting jurors. What happens with that is that when you target the jurors and you don't have the cases to, give them to resolve, they come and then get stake into some place, and then so they buy the token, then stake, they don't get cases, and they sell and they leave, and then they get frustrated, and then they say, yeah, Kleros, nobody uses Kleros. So we know this because we tried doing this before. So and the result was that it tended to, if we didn't solve the demand side of the marketplace before, what would happen is that the jurors would just leave, and would also leave in a bad mood because of not having cases to resolve. So be assured that this is not something that we are ignoring you or anything. Be assured that the team members are the bigger holders, I guess, of PNK. So we are definitely interested in price action, and we are definitely interested in Kleros being adopted. We're just seeing that this best sequence for Kleros to be adopted in a sustainable way is by targeting the market in this way. First, need to get more cases, and then you can target the jurors to resolve them. So now what we are doing is
Fede, I think that this can go side by side, because the marketing will raise the awareness, then the Kleros becomes in the public perception, and then when people understand what's going on, they will find more integration. So I think that both approaches are correct, and I, of course, agree with more work for so that Kleros becomes part of the public perception. Some marketing is required.
I agree with that. I'm saying, if you see the integration side, that's not what the problem is. Marcos just mentioned that we reach 150 partners. We have lots of partners. The thing is that many partners still don't bring any disputes. That is the main thing. So that's you can have partners, but there are not that many disputes to keep jurors involved or engaged in a Web3 environment. I mean, of course, our thesis is that this is going to grow, because our thesis is that Kleros is going to become a Web3 marketplace, and code for all of the marketplaces growing in Web3, in insurance, whatever, that already. And this requires Web3 to grow more. If you think that, like Kleros started, early, and there was not enough ecosystem around that, I could agree with that. And I will say that, so it's not a problem. But it's not that we don't do marketing. We do the type of marketing that we think is the right sequence to have Kleros adoption take off in a sustainable way. Because as I mentioned, we did the other thing before, and it didn't work. That said, also what we are now doing is, as you know, we are preparing V2, and with V2, what is going to come is first a new rebranding of Kleros. Not the brand is going to change the name of the project, but a new refreshing of the brand, assets and all that. And then if you, and this is what I'm guessing you want to hear, a more important communications push, but only when we think we are ready for deploying V2, and this is the moment where we think we are going to have a wider amount of cases. So this is the way in which we think about, the marketing issue. So you will have clarity on how we think at the team about this. But let me just repeat. We are big holders. We are on the same ship, and we are definitely interested in this working. So it's not that. We have lots of PNK as well, and we want this to work. So believe me on that.
Can I add something, Federico?
Of course.
Yeah, something that might help Kleros to receive more disputes in the, I don't know if in the short term, but maybe in the mid-term, is this that we are doing with Web2 companies. It's true on one side that the adoption of the Web3 still have to grow, but Kleros is proving itself that it's useful for Web2 companies. So if this integration with this project that I think you already mentioned, but if this integration with this project is bringing considerable cases, I think in 1 month it gave us 3 cases. If we start doing more integrations of this kind with new exchanges, with new marketplaces from Argentina as this one, and with another exchanges all around the world, we might start receiving more disputes. But again, we have to go step by step. First work with this integration, and then go for the next ones.
Yeah, lots of the work we do is try to go where the disputes are. This is the case of the exchange. This thing I mentioned of the mediation tool we're building, that's also going where cases are. So what we have in Web3 now is like mostly, it's like a large amount, like a big value claims, like prediction markets, kind of insurance, that sometimes they give you, a dispute which is a high value dispute, but it doesn't keep jurors and, let's say, entertained, if you want. So we still target those, of course, but this is not giving everyday work to jurors. And if you want to have people engaged, what you need is try to go where the disputes are. So most of our efforts are put there. Okay, so hopefully this clarifies a bit all of the marketing discussion.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Would you briefly explain to us what the process for marketing decisions looks like? Because I hear you saying we have decided to no longer advertise except for B2B. And I'm just curious, what does that internal dialogue look like, and what's the decision-making process for marketing?
Sure, we have a team that is a business development team or integrations team that is well, it's composed by Wang Mian, as you know. There is Marcos, there is Akil, and we are also trying to grow it. And then we discuss there like the operational stuff that we want to push, like what we want to do on like the more strategic, process where we discuss this a lot with with JB, with Wang, and of course with Clement, and then this is where we do like more of the strategic decisions. And to be honest, at the moment, I mean, of course, we take into account feedback from the community. I mean, we are aware of everything you say. I mean, we are not at all, ignoring you or anything. As I mentioned, we also are super interested in PNK to grow. So, and we, for the time being, I mean, we don't see lots of demand side actions. So we can think of like more retail oriented marketing if you want. As I said, when V2 comes, we will have a more, I mean, and this is something we're already starting to prepare a campaign for the launch of V2, which will be like a relaunch, if you want, of Kleros in the context of way more use cases already working. Yeah, Marcos, you want to say something?
Yes, that for this process that they asked, for all marketing proposals, we ask the ones that send us the marketing proposals. We ask them to send them to a Kleros email that is Kleros. I think it's contact@kleros.com, so that we centralize all proposals, and when we have them all there, we evaluate which is more interesting. Yeah, that's the one part of the process. And then, as Federico said, Federico, Wang, and Clement analyze them and decide which one's more interesting.
And also, I was not mentioning, of course, Jean and Damian, but
yeah,
we
of
have
course,
a lot of open positions there. So, yeah, clarifies a bit about that.
Thank you.
Well, sure. So don't worry. I mean, we're not ignoring you. Okay. We are on the same ship about this. Okay. Well, guys, I think that's enough for today. Thank you all for coming, and we will let you know when we can show you the next version of V2. In the next few days, we will share this on Telegram. Okay. Thank you all, guys, for coming, and see you very soon. Bye bye.
See you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye bye.